Dear learners, today I am going to discuss about barriers to travel, threats and obstacles to tourism. Now, LTC is a push factor which pushes a person to leave his destination. He might not be thinking of traveling. The government employee might not be thinking of traveling, but when he's told that he has a LTC with him which he can utilize within that block period and he can avail that free of cost, the travel part is sponsored by the government, so that is an enough reason for him and that pushes him to travel to that destination. But that is only the case with the government employees. With the private employees, you have entitled earned leaves where you can go and you can avail them. So holidays is one holiday entitlement. This is a push factor also, but at the same time it is a deterring factor also. It stops a person to travel when he doesn't have enough holiday. So here that can be seen as a push factor also, but that is a deterring factor also. Now next I come to one of the other barriers of travel is health. So health is very, very important. What is health? A good health is good body, feeling physically fit and good, with a good mind, with a healthy mind and a healthy body. Again, health can also be the purpose for travel and health can also be a deterring factor. We have to understand these two domains, two aspects. So how is health it is a push factor for a person to travel? Like when you must have heard that doctors telling you that if you are staying in a metropolitan city and you're not feeling well, he might ask you to travel out of city for a good health. You travel to a hill station so that you breathe the fresh air, especially like when we talk about Delhi, when there was so much of pollution after Diwali. So people were traveling out of Delhi for searching for fresh air. So health, people travel for spas, people travel for detox treatments, people travel for meditation, people travel just to take care of health. People travel to Turkey to take bath in hammams. People travel for various in Israel. They travel to this Dead Sea and they take various treatments. The treatments of the water therapy treatments where they can get treated of their skin diseases. So health is one of the reasons as to why people travel. But that can also be deterring factor. We have to understand this. Deterring factor how? That if you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling fine, so you would not, if you feel that I'm feeling sick, or if you have illness, or if you have a chronic illness, or if you are not physically well, how can you think about traveling? Traveling will only deteriorate your existing ill health. So you will not travel. You will only travel when your health is good. So you have to understand this. Another dimension to this is people also associate travel with health, that their health gets deteriorated. This is also one of the reasons many people do not travel. Many people do not travel by flight because they have ear sickness. People do not travel to places of high altitude because they have this high altitude sickness, like people traveling to Ladakh. They would not like to travel to Ladakh. Somebody who has a high BP or somebody who has, issues of asthma and all, they are not recommended. That means their health is not good. So they can't travel to such places because the air pressure is very high there and people can have serious repercussions on their health if they travel to these places. So they will not travel because of their health. Somebody will not travel in hilly areas, especially areas where the roads are not straight because of the motion sickness. They might feel giddy all the time and they may keep puking. So their complete travel is ruined. So we have to understand, for people, health is a major reason. Many people may not travel because of the health issues they might have. Now next comes is the gender. So here we have to understand, in the context of India, gender makes some difference, but in many foreign countries it does not make difference. Especially when I'm talking in the context of countries like the Western world, like USA, UK, Australia, and all these places. Here it is very, Europe, it is very, this aspect may not hold true. But when we talk about, especially in our society where it is more of the patriarchal society, gender is a very important constraint. Especially being a girl, you cannot think of traveling on your own too much. If you think of traveling, you have to face a lot of resentment. I'm not saying that this is not happening. Now the new trend has started as which is of women solo travelers. A lot of women are traveling, and many tour companies, like we have this wow, which is giving wander on, which is offering trips for women travelers, and they are taking women to safe destinations which are safe for the women. They can travel on their own, but still in the context of India, this is still one hitch. If being a women traveler, being a woman, you will only prefer traveling with your friends or with your family. You won't prefer traveling on your own. So gender is one aspect, definitely, in the context of countries. If I talk about Saudi Arabia also, where women have to be accompanied with men. So yes, there also gender is an issue in few Middle East other countries also, and in countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, which are more of patriarchal societies, unlike the Western world, where the gender is not the constraint, the women are equally traveling. Yes, so that's one of the aspects. So we have discussed, on this slide, we have discussed holiday entitlement, health and gender. Family life cycle. This is also one of the very important factors as to why people may not travel. When people are in different setup or different stages of family life cycle, like when you are bachelor, your tendency to travel is more, and because you do not have any obligations, so you can think of traveling more easily. But with respect to the family, when you have a family, you will think twice before traveling, so your choice of destination will also change, and you will have to consult other family members whether they are also interested to travel. So a lot of constraints come when you're traveling when you have a family. When you're bachelor, it is easy. When you have a family, when it's a couple, it's still easier. But when you have children, again it's difficult. When you have very small children or young children, like toddlers you have, so you can't travel much. The mobility decreases because everything has to be planned according to the child. But when you have adult children, then you can still think of traveling, but again that will be driven by the children's decision as to where they want to travel. So, and when you are senior, when you reach the stage when you become a senior citizen, when you are in your late 70s, 80s, 60s, so you're again when you're in that stage of life, again your mobility decreases. Again you may not be able to travel as much as you used to travel when you were a couple, or when you were bachelor, or when you had your family. So family life cycle also plays a very important role in it's an obstacle or a barrier to traveling. Next is motivation or interest. We have to understand that everybody is not interested in traveling. There are people who just don't want to move out of the comfort zone. They are happy being in their place, being in their they love familiarity, so they don't want to move out in an unfamiliar zone. So they are happy with their family, they are happy with their friends, with the existing surroundings. So they don't want to change. So you can't force such people to travel. Or I may not be interested to travel because maybe you are offering me adventure, or it's an adventure destination, my whole family is traveling, but I don't like doing adventure, so I may not think of traveling along with them or accompanying them. So interest or motivation is again very important factor. Next is confidence to travel on or through travel agent. Especially this is with the solo travelers, or you do not have a family of your own, or you are alone, so you may not be very comfortable traveling, or you may not be very confident to travel, or you may think that travel agent is also not he may not give you a genuine deal, or you may not be able to trust him with having read so many reviews. There might be trust issues, so you might not even think of traveling through a travel agent. Also, the confidence also to travel is another dimension. Another aspect is food. Food is very, very important deterrent in traveling. It is a pull factor also, because we talk about gastronomical tourism, we talk about culinary tourism, where people travel to destinations because of food. But let me tell you, food also stops people from traveling. Like if I take an example of Jain travelers. So for Jains, they want food. It is a constraint for them. They want food only which is served without garlic and without onions. So they will only think of traveling when they are given that option to the food option is given to them. So we have a lot of travel companies like Thomas Cook, Cox and Kings and all. So they have, Gujarati the travel packages, especially for the Gujaratis who are Jains, and they offer these packages to them so that they ensure that they are served their kind of food when they travel. So that is one aspect. We also have vegans who even do not consume dairy products, or people who have allergies to different food. So their food is a deterrent factor for many. Suppose I'm a vegetarian and I want to visit Japan, I want to visit South Korea, but for me visiting there is very difficult because most of the restaurants they serve non-vegetarian food. So likewise, a non-vegetarian visiting Gujarat or the non-vegetarian visiting Vaishno Devi, for him it's a constraint because most of the places will serve him vegetarian food. So, or somebody, maybe I would also like to add, like Gujarat is a dry state. So many people who are fond of drinking, they might not prefer visiting Gujarat for that matter. So food is an important constraint. We have to understand that while visiting a destination, I will only think of traveling to those destinations which offer, like if I'm a vegetarian, if I'm a vegan, if I'm a Jain, if I'm allergic to a lot of things, I eat only gluten-free meal. So I would ensure that I am traveling to those destinations which serve those options for me, or if I'm traveling on my own, or if I'm traveling through a travel agent, I have to ensure that he takes care of my meals and he takes care of my meal preferences. Next is obviously the distance. I have discussed in the earlier presentation also that distance matters. If I have less time, I will not prefer going to destinations which are quite distant. I will only prefer visiting destinations which are near me, which are around my vicinity, so that I can come back on time and I can resume back my duties. So next, which says the destination factors. Now the destination factors, they also deter a person. We can say there are certain threats which stop a person from traveling to a destination which are destination related. First is the civil unrest and agitations. Example, now in Hong Kong you must have heard that there are a lot of agitations which are going on. In Thailand there was some agitation going a long time, in a year back. In India we are hearing right now about this cab bill which has been passed by the government. There are a lot of agitation. So maybe somebody especially somebody who's visiting Delhi, this would not be a good time for him to come here at this point of time because of this unrest, because of the strikes which are happening. So a lot of the tourism sites might be closed, there might be road blockages, roads might be diverted, there might be traffic, they might face a lot of issues. So they might be uncomfortable visiting country at this point of time, or visiting any other country at that point of time where there is civil unrest. So people would deter to travel to that destination, and that is one of the deterring factors. Next is strike in airlines. That might be another factor, that the airlines the employees has called a strike. Recently that was in the news that this Jet Airways had done a massive downsizing of its staff, and lot of people were fired from their job. More than 50,000 people lost their jobs. So there was a strike with the airline. So that is an inconvenience for the people who are traveling by that airline. So that deters tourism. Again, communal rights, if that happens, so that is unfortunate what happens, but that is also deterring factor that stops people from traveling. Then we have terrorism also. Terrorism is one of the major reasons as to why people don't visit destinations which they do not find safe enough. So safety is one of the prime concerns for a traveler when he plans his vacation. When he chooses visiting a destination, for him the prime concern is the safety. He would not visit a destination where he knows there is risk involved, any kind of risk involved. Especially, let's take an example of Kashmir. So Kashmir, which was once called as the Switzerland of India, and there were a lot of film shootings happening, a lot of tourists to visit, not only domestic but also the international tourists. But because of the terrorism, we have witnessed that how that destination has suffered, and it's total no. Again, recently Article 370, when it has been abrogated in J&K state, again with an intention of reviving tourism. But again, we are trying to stop terrorism also through that. But people are still skeptical about going to till the situation gets normal back again. Terrorism, we have heard of Sri Lanka. There were attacks. So many people were killed because of the series of blasts which occurred, and so many people died. So this is again, the terrorism is the worst enemy of tourism, and people do not visit those destinations which are facing terrorism or which have the threat of terrorism. So terrorism and tourism can't go together. People will not travel to those destinations which have the terror of terrorists. Next is the image of the destination. I might not visit a destination which I think that is, if I have an image in my mind, I'm a very luxurious traveler. I might not think of traveling to India because I've heard that India is a land of, the rugs and where the poor people reside. So that might be wrong, because one sect of the society is like that, poverty struggle, but rest of it is not. But still, I have an image in my mind. I would not visit that destination. I might not think of traveling there, or because of I've heard that the railways never run on time. So this is an image in my mind. So I will not travel to that place. So likewise, even if I want to go to Saudi Arabia, I will not travel to Saudi Arabia because I know that it is very conservative society there, or travelers are not much welcome there. So I will not think of visiting. So image also plays a major role. Especially when we talk about India, image is one very important concern, especially for the women travelers. They do not find India safe because of the rapes which have been happening here, which is so unfortunate part of our society. But this is happening in our country, and so that's why the image makes the women traveler from Western world, she would not like to visit India. Or maybe even the domestic travelers. Let's talk about the girls within India who want to travel. They can't travel because their families would stop them. So because of the situations that are happening around, maybe all destinations are not unsafe. Let's take an example of Gujarat or certain states of Northeast. They are safe, but still there is the kind of the terror which is there within people, fear which is within the people, that it's not safe. Natural calamities happen like cloud burst, like earthquake, tsunami coming. So people will not travel to those destinations where any kind of mishappening happens. Like it happened in Uttarakhand, it happened in Ladakh long time back, it happened in Kashmir, the flash floods which happened. So all these things will stop a person from traveling. Lack of amenities at a destination, people will not visit there because they feel that for a foreigner, he might have been told by somebody that if his friend has said that the Wi-Fi does not work in remote areas, so he might not be very happy to visit here. He might think of traveling to other Southeast Asian countries. So that's lack of amenities also makes a lot of difference. So crime is another factor which stops a person from traveling. In India, it is very unfortunate, but a lot of theft happens here, pickpocketing happens. When you are traveling in metro in Delhi, lots of time there are a lot of announcements which are going on all the time that, beware of the pickpocketers. Even when you're traveling to Chandni Chowk, you have to be aware of the pickpocketers. So if you're traveling there, the first instruction which is given by the tour leader to you is that you have to take care of your passports. You have to take care of your belongings all the time. So crime is one thing which you cannot ignore, and which is a deterrent factor to a destination. But when we are aware, many countries they issue travel advisories. For example, for India, USA has issued a big time the travel advisory which says that you should avoid traveling to India because there's a lot of crime which happens, and the molestation, the theft, as I discussed, that image also plays a lot of role, and that women travelers, what happens with them. So we also heard about the Fatehpur Sikri case where a couple, it was beaten by a boy. So that was very unfortunate which happened. But this crime, we need to keep a check on it, but this stops people from visiting the country. And this is a very serious threat to our country also. We need to look into it. And to many other countries also. Cheating is very important concern. Like if we talk about India, when we talk, visit various sightseeing places. So we see a lot of so-called tour guides who are basically not licensed, but we call them blabkas in the local language. They chase you that, we hire their services to see that monument or to see that attraction. And they charge very exorbitant amount. Likewise, that the tour guide, he might take you to the shopping areas and something, example, a pashmina shawl, which will say it's a pashmina shawl of Kashmir, but actually it is not that. So you feel very much cheated. You might buy it and you may pay a very heavy price for it, thinking it is genuine pashmina, but actually it is not. So cheating takes place, and even fake travel companies, they say that we are licensed by the government of India, but they are not. So, and then they dupe the traveler, they take the money from you in the name that we are licensed by the government and we will take care of your travel arrangement. They take the whole money from the travelers. Especially this has happened with a lot of foreign travelers in India, and they then file a complaint with the Ministry of Tourism. These are very unfortunate things about travel, and which have been happening, but this is actually happening. So this is a serious threat to tourism. Likewise, lack of marketing strategies. Many destinations do not market themselves properly. They may have the required tourism resources, tourism products to attract the tourists, but they are not marketing. As I gave an example of Northeast countries in the first presentation also. So they have a lot of tourism products, but there is not enough of awareness amongst the tourists. Especially when you talk about the foreign tourist, is only aware about the Golden Triangle, Delhi, Agra, Jaipur. He doesn't go beyond that. Doesn't know that Karnataka is equally beautiful. He can visit Maharashtra. He can visit Punjab. He can visit Gujarat. He can visit Northeast. So marketing strategies have to be in place, and they must be strong enough to capture the various segments of the tourists. The government regulation of many countries also plays a deterrent role in inviting the tourists. Like we have the visa is an issue. Many countries they have very long visa rules. So they have long visa rules and regulations, and they take a lot of time, due to which people can't. They think of traveling if they have less time, and they know that it will take 15 days to get a visa done, 2 weeks, 1 week, and they have to travel. So visa on arrival is a very good option, which many countries have come up with to remove this barrier. Healthcare, people will not travel to those destinations where there is outbreak of a disease. Example, few years back there was an epidemic of Ebola, then swine flu. So these keep happening. So people will not travel to those places like dengue. We have heard of so many cases happening in summers in India of dengue. So foreign tourists are scared to come during that point of time also. Seasonality is another challenge. Tourists will not travel. Even if they want to travel, but they think that this is not the right time to visit because of the climate is not suitable. Tourists will not think of coming to India in summers to witness the scorching heat. Likewise, language barriers. If I have to travel to Spain or I have to travel to Mexico, where maximum people speak Spanish and they don't understand much of English, and even China also. So as a solo traveler, it might be very difficult for me to operate myself unless and until I've hired the service of a tour operator. So language also plays a major role. Attitude of the host community. If they are not very welcoming, I would not like to visit that destination. But if they are welcoming, like North Ireland, they say Dublin is the friendliest capital of the world. So I would like to visit there. But people who are not very happy when I visit that destination, I would not like to visit that place. So travel advisories, as I discussed earlier also, they also go negative against the tourism phenomena. USA has issued a very negative travel advisory about India to its citizens that do not travel. So people will not travel if they adhere to these travel advisories. So these are also deterring factors to tourism. Now we will discuss about some other factors like red tapeism and bureaucracy is there, because many plans when they are formulated but they're not implemented on time, or the attitude of the government is not very professional towards tourism, or they don't take tourism industry seriously, or they don't even if an official is interested and till the time he has a vibe of this tourism sinking in, he is transferred from that job. So it is very important that we should have competent staff only who has a complete orientation of tourism. So we should have those people who are serious about the tourism business and who want to take tourism to the next level. So red tapeism and bureaucracy is definitely a hindering factor to tourism. Next is lack of trained manpower. issue of tourism is that tourism is basically people's industry, for the people, by the people. But unfortunately, we don't have trained people in this industry, the people who are professional about offering tourism services. So that's why in India we have with this Ministry of Tourism has a lot of programs like CBSP programs. It has started under capacity building of service providers. It has started a lot of training programs for people who are working at the grassroots levels, be it the drivers, cab drivers, be it the tour guides, be it the tour leaders, be it the travel agents, tour operators, be it the dhabawalas, be it the tourist police. So the manpower has to be trained who is well equipped to deal with the situations that tourists might come. So this is very important. Next is lack of awareness about tourism industry. People are not much aware about this industry, and so maybe they do not know the potential that this industry has in within itself, and people are not ready to give enough. The government is not ready to give enough budgets to this industry, or to give this industry a status of the industry which has not been given till now in India. So this lack of awareness is also one of the deterring factors as to why this phenomenon is not taken seriously. And India also, we talk about foreign tourists because all the time ignoring the domestic tourists, because foreign tourists will bring in foreign exchange. So domestic tourists are not given much heed to, whereas the complete tourism, most of the tourism of India is surviving more on domestic tourism rather than the international tourism. I will not travel to a country if my country is recession hit. If there is a recession, I don't have money, so I will not think of traveling. So recession is also one of the deterring factors, which happened a few years back. Also, there was a slowdown in the economy across the world. So the phenomenon of tourism was suspended for that point of time. Recession is also one of the very important criteria for not people traveling to a destination. So friends, till now we have discussed what tourism is about, what are the motivations why people travel, and what are the deterring factors why people do not travel. What are the deterring factors? In other words, what are the barriers and what are the obstacles or threats to tourism? So there are two kinds. One is personally related and one is destination related. So that is for now. Thank you so much.